This is a foreigner living in the Philippines. Actually, this is nothing to do with the Philippines. This is what I do while I'm in the Philippines. And it occurred to me, I use drawing all the time to sort out all kinds of different problems. And during that time, I'm realizing that usually people put down their own ability at drawing. They say, oh no, I don't have a talent at drawing. So what I really want you to look at is this. I'll make a series of videos, 3 or 4 maybe, on how to get going, how to actually see what you're looking at. Because normally we don't see what we're looking at. We look, but we don't really take it in. So if we can focus down on a couple of things that I've done. This is just a drawing. People always tell me, I don't know what to draw. Well, this is the little part of my motorcycle. And I do a line drawing, and I work at it, and it doesn't start off very good. Probably threw drawings away on that. But then it gets better. So these are normal things. These are the things that are on my desk. There's a tape measure, a pencil sharpener, and you can draw these things from many different angles and over, not just once. There's that old story about the woman that went to an artist. This is a Japanese story. Went to an artist who was a famous artist, and she asked him could he draw a horse. She asked him for a picture of a horse, and he said, if you can come back in a week's time, I'll have that drawing for you. So after a week she went back again, and he charged her $500, and she said, it's just one picture of a horse. How can you charge me $500? It's one picture. Now the artist didn't say anything at all. He went over to a drawer, he opened the drawer, and he tipped the drawer out on the floor, where there were hundreds of drawings of the horse that was on her picture. In other words, nothing comes easy. You have to do a little work. One of the things that's on my desk all the time is a tape measure. I draw a tape measure. I use my drawing to work out problems. If you can see, here's a little setup that I drew for the house that I'm building. So I was able to draw it. I drew it, and after doing these kinds of drawings, I began to realize, well, all of these shapes are universal. That's what I wanted to show. Artists never show their sketchbooks, but I'm doing that now. You can see sometimes the first drawing that I do looks like it was drawn by a 3-year-old child. It's so bad. And then gradually they start to get a little better. But that brings us to video 1, which is this. And that is, if you can look here at the different shapes, everything that we look at is based on just a few different shapes. So let me show you. If you're going to start drawing and you feel that you've got no talent, you feel that you've got no skill, got no ability, just imagine this. Do you think that a champion boxer climbs into the ring with the threat of having his face beaten in without doing a great deal of work on some very basic things? He lifts weights, he practices on a punch bag, he practices it on a speed bag, he skips, he he does all kinds of apparently disrelated things in order to acquire the skill to defend himself, not just to defend himself, but to attack his opponent and succeed and win. These are the things that if you want to draw, you start off by dedicating yourself to learning these shapes. And the first one, say, there's a triangle, there's a circle, there's a square, there's a rectangle, which is only like a series of squares. There are other shapes then which get a little bit more complex and require a little bit more practice. But there's a tube. There's also a cone. Now these are all two-dimensional. They're all flat. A drawing would be no good if everything was flat. So what you need to do is you need to be able to make those shapes come alive. This you would do by shading. Something like that. Once again, this. You would make that into a cube. This you would do by shading. This again is done by shading. So why should you spend time doing drawings of cubes, spheres, circles, pyramids? I can hear you saying, well, I don't want to draw pyramids and I don't want to draw cylinders. Well, you think about it, you've got a head. That's a sphere. It's actually suspended on a cylinder. Then you could almost go from there and talk about squares. Now we'd be looking at spheres. It's a cylinder. And so on. The object of this exercise is that as you begin to become familiar on a drawing basis with these shapes, you will begin to see them in everything that you look at. If you look at this, what is it? It has the basic square shape. What is a pencil if it's not a cylinder? What is that shape there? If you looked at that shape and you looked at it two-dimensionally, it would be like a triangle. But then when you look at it like this, it becomes a pencil. So you have to learn to look at things with the view of finding what the basic shape is. Look at this. Now when people talk about being an artist, they always think grand. They always think finished job. Like, I'm not an artist right now, click, and now I'm an artist. No, believe me, it didn't happen like that. If I show you, if you think that this is beneath you as a drawing, well, think again. Because if you could draw this really well, you would have achieved something. You've achieved the basic recognition of these shapes. Now if you look at these shapes now, look at this one here. We can focus right down on this one. Look what it is. These are almost triangular in that shape. They got a point or a spear like this, and the same again. And then these are all small squares. There's a rectangle. Sharp edges here. This goes in perspective, but that's going to be much later. Then you've got a straight line. That's the other thing that I should have mentioned. You need to be able to draw relatively straight lines. What do you look at for inspiration? Well, I wanted to understand a little bit more about the suspension on my truck. So what I did was I crawled underneath and I took a picture, and then I put the picture out here, and that's what I drew. That's the front suspension on my truck. Now if you look at it, what is it composed of? Look at all the things that it's composed of. It's composed of straight lines, it's composed of circles, it's composed of box sections here like this, it's composed of straight lines, it's composed of cylinders, it's composed of shading, here straight lines. Now the shading and the way that you approach it is what gives it depth. That's what makes this, or say this one. There you have a square, and if you learn to look at it differently, you can actually make this jump off the paper. Now, is this a great work of art? No, it's not. I'm not a great artist, but I have made some realizations. I have found that with a little work, by making these basic shapes, triangle, straight line, circle, circle, there is a tube, straight lines again, circles, all of these, by learning to do this and by shading like this, you can do a drawing like this. Now, as I say, I know that this is not a great work of art, but I can actually make someone see that this is what I said it was going to be. If you look, this is the result of my work on trying to make things come off the paper. There you've got a cylinder, but it's almost like a funnel, right? Here you've got square shapes, rectangle, boxes, here cylinders on cylinders, there on the funnel shape, triangle, there's a wedge shape which is really like another triangle on its side. That's almost like a triangle, this with the shape. And what I did was I just used all of those shapes and I just doodled on the paper. Look at this. What is it? Anything you want it to be. But with a fairly basic skill and a little bit of work, you can go ahead and you can make drawings which will help you to achieve whatever project you're on. This was a little conceptual drawing for our second floor. This is a basic drawing early on for the house that we have. This was a problem that I had on a bridge. I had to make a pole go along several pillars like this. Now, well, what is this? What have we been talking about? This one is a cylinder. This is a cylinder. And because of shading and the way that I've done it, you can see that it's lifting off the paper and becoming three-dimensional. It's fooling the eye into being three-dimensional. It's fooling it, okay? We all know that this is flat, but it makes it look as if it's three-dimensional. And in doing that, I worked out how I could make this mold so that this concrete could be poured in, and this bar here would be trapped in the concrete. This went down on top of that, bar went into here, and this went on the top. Now once I did that, okay, so this is how the whole design came together, and this is how I was able to visualize it. What I did was I drew it and said, how can I make that happen? Then I was able to draw it. Now, before we just finish off, just to prove a point, these are things off my desk. And guess what we have there? So this can be an attractive drawing that you can get a real win from when someone looks at that and says, oh yeah, that's the lock, wow. Then look at this. This is just a plug, but you will get a win from doing that if you've done your homework. And your homework consists of the drawings that we've talked about. This is what you can do. You can do these little drawings. These are all basic to the shapes that I've been showing you. Like this one, basic to the shapes. And it all starts with this. Now, you may not be able to draw that, or that, or that. But I'm sure that you can draw that, and that, and that, and that, and that. So all you need is a drawing pad, a pencil sharpener, and an eraser, and the willingness to spend a little time practicing those things there. If you think that the saxophone player or the trumpet player that you're going to listen to tonight in an orchestra or in a band just got up and did it, you're sadly mistaken. He practiced things like scales. Did he get up on stage and play his scales? No, he didn't. His scales led him to the skill that he has to entertain you. These shapes are common to all the things that you see in everyday life. Houses, apples, oranges, football, even these. I showed you this in a pencil. So get to it. You can do that. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Foreigner in the Philippines.